Hello everyone, in today's video we're going to be showing you 5 different PE games that you can deliver in your primary schools. If you do enjoy today's video, please do hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. So in today's video I'm going to show you through the 5 different games that I've got here: Robin Hood, Foxes and Farmers, the VIP, Matches and Piggy in the middle. So the first game is Robin Hood. Now Robin Hood is quite well known for being it's like a relay sort of game, something you would probably come across if you've done like level 1s in specific sports. But basically what you'll have is a pile of different cones in the middle, and you have teams on the outside of the circle all the way around like that. Now, important in this game that with it being a relay game, it's very tempting to maybe have a line of, say, 5 or 6 kids. One kid goes in, picks up the tennis ball or whatever it is, and they come back, and then the next kid goes. Now, when you have that, you've got to be so careful not to have big lines. So if I had a class of 30, I would have 15 teams around the outside. So I've literally got one kid going, next one coming back, and it's really quick. They're not waiting around. So really important that you include that. And then what you can do, if I was doing hockey, for example, every child would have a hockey stick, and there'd be plenty of tennis balls in the middle, and all they'd have to do is run in, get the tennis ball and bring it back to their team. Once they're back, their teammate then runs in, gets another tennis ball and brings it back with the hockey stick. And then if you're lucky, you've got 60, 90 balls and you can do it three or 4 times. If not, once they've brought them all back, then they've got to start taking them back into the middle and leaving them there. And it just, you can do that as a little race between all 15, but it's just helping them develop that little game. So you could do this as a warm-up, it could be part of your main skill session, but really incorporating understanding how to hold how to hold a hockey stick, for example. Now this could be footballs in the middle, it might be basketballs they dribble back. So whatever you've got, focus it towards your session. But Robin Hood is really good. You can then develop it. So once these guys have got say they've got 2 balls there, these guys have got 2 balls. Now what you can say is, right, you're now allowed to go and steal from one of the other teams. Everybody can move at the same time. So these 2, one of them might go over there, pick up that ball, and it's no defending, no fox guard or anything like that. This team have to let them have it, and they bring it back to their team. But whilst that's going on, another team might be taking one of their balls. So that works quite nicely, a good little fun game, especially for year 3 upwards. But you can do that with the year 1s and 2s, but make it really simple, make it the equipment, make it nice and easy, so it works well for them. But that's Robin Hood. So the next one is Foxes and Farmers. Foxes and Farmers is a really good one. You're going to have your area. Now for me, I would have, I probably would aim to play this game on AstroTurf or grass, because it is where whenever children are chasing each other, if you're doing that on concrete, it can be a little bit dangerous because they could trip each other up. But you know your kids and your environment. But you basically give, say, 90% of the children a bib that they put in the back of their shorts. It might be Tag-Rugby belts, and they can have belts on either side. And you say you've got 25 children all in here with bibs, and then you've got your 2 foxes on the outside. Now these foxes, when you say go, they go in and they try and take as many bibs as they can. Now different ways you can do this. It might be I take your bib, then I just give it back to you and I get a point. And once the foxes have got 10 points, the game's over, and you can time how long that took. It might be once they take the bib, then they become a fox as well. So then you've got 3 foxes. Be careful with that though, because by the end you're going to have 22 foxes and 2 children, and so I have 3 children left, and so it's going to be a little bit messy. So I would encourage you not to go too far on that one. But yeah, that's Foxes and Farmers. There's different ways you can adapt that. It might be if you've got Tag-Rugby belts. It could be that they've still got 1 Tag-Rugby tag on, then they still get to play. So anyone they lose 2 or 3 or whatever. So that's Foxes and Farmers. Really good little warm up, especially if you want to get kids active straight away. But make sure you're doing it in a safe environment, nice big space, which gets people with plenty of space around them. Okay, so that's Foxes and Farmers, and now VIP is a very similar game, a very important person, and basically you're going to be identifying who is the VIP by the end of the game. So what you're going to have is everybody, very similar to Foxes and Farmers, with a bib tucked down their shorts, or a maybe Tag-Rugby belts on, and everybody starts with one bib, okay? So if I have a bib and I come and take your bib, then I've now got 2 bibs, right? You haven't got any bibs. You're not out, okay? You should never do games where children are out, because realistically, the kids who need the most development are the ones who are going to be out first, and they're going to slowly, the ones who are really good are going to keep getting better, and the ones who need to develop even more are the ones who are sat out because they didn't because they got taken at the start, right? So so if I take your bib, you're still in, okay, but I keep my one bib in and I hold the other bib. Now, other people are only allowed to get my bib that's in my shorts. If you, for example, came and took my bib, all I do is the spare bib, I can never just be holding bibs. If I've got bibs in my hand and none in my shorts, I need to put one into my shorts. So once I put it into my shorts, there's a 3-second safety period where nobody's allowed to take it. I put it in and then I'm off. So what you're looking for is the person who's managed to get the most bibs at the end. So even if you've got no bibs, you're still involved. But if you've got 4 bibs, you should have 1 in and you're holding 3. If anyone takes it, you have to move one of them bibs in and you've only got 2 in your hands. So that's basically how it works. And what you can do is you can reset this you can do it so you've got, right, 2 minutes, who can get the most bibs? And then at the end of 2 minutes, you stop, count, see who's got the most bibs, they win, and then everybody resets, put one in, and they go from there. Okay, so that's a really nice one. That I really enjoy that, especially if you are doing tag rugby, for example, it works really nicely. And what you can do if you're doing that with football or hockey, for example, then it might be that everybody has a football at their feet, and is that you can only move if you've got the football. Okay, or you're doing basketball, you can only do it whilst you're dribbling the ball. So just thinking about how it's not just a heart raiser, but it's also going to work on the sport that you're delivering that day. Okay, perfect. So my next one is matches. Now, obviously, in most PE lessons, you would normally go matches. I always encourage my coaches to at least a third of the session time to be matches. But it's important you understand how to deliver matches effectively in a PE lesson, okay? Because that's when children are really going to learn that sport and they're going to learn it most. So, yeah, loads of different sports you can do this, but it's all about small-sided games. In PE lessons, it's not about, yes, you might have 30 children, so you don't play 15v15 because so many of the kids are not going to touch the ball. So looking at, if you can, 2 versus 2s, 3 versus 3s. For me, if this is a netball pitch, or netball court, then what I would have is, if I can, I would maybe, depending on what sport I'm doing, I might be able to put a line along there and have 6 different areas, and they can have a little 2v2 hockey pitch here, just cones as goals, put cones down, and it's a little 2v2 match. Okay, simple things like that. If you're working on, tag rugby, even if you've got a big field, but still, just because you've got a big field doesn't mean just because you've got more space doesn't mean you put more kids into that area. 2v2s, 3v3s, because when you work in your groups, especially if a child who's brand new to tag rugby is on the same pitch as someone who's played it for years, then they're just not gonna touch the ball. They're not going to be able to make as many decisions. Not going to make as many mistakes. They don't really learn as much. Whereas in 2v2, there's nowhere to hide. They have to play. If you're playing netball, for example, it's 3v3. They're constantly going to be on the ball, making decisions, which helping them improve. So really try, whenever you're doing your matches, try and do small-sided games. I think I'm really important at primary schools to get children making decisions on the ball. I see it way too often where there's just massive pitches, 6v6, 7v7s, and children just, often the primary schools aren't big enough, the space that you've got isn't big enough for that size, and so many of the kids aren't touching the ball and making decisions. So matches are a really important one, and do put matches into every PE lesson. That's when they're learning the most. If I'm just passing the ball left and right, in a netball pass, a chest pass, it's not the same as when I go into a match and I've got to think about how am I going to move closer towards that hoop and get closer. So yeah, really important you think about your matches. Next up is Piggy in the middle. So a real playground favourite for me, and actually that can really be drawn into PE on a fantastic level, because let's say you've got your area and Piggy in the middle naturally is going to be teams of 3. So 1, 2, 3. Now, when you're playing Piggy in the middle, it's really important you think about your progressions and regressions, because if I'm doing Piggy in the middle in a basketball session and I've got 2 really tall kids and then the Piggy is a little bit smaller, they're just going to be throwing it over and over. So how do I challenge those children? Well, maybe you're not allowed to throw at overhead height anymore. So it really makes them think about moving to the side. If you drop the ball or if it touches the floor, the piggy is out. Okay, for example, and then different things you can do to make it easier. Maybe if their younger ones are struggling to catch a tennis ball, maybe give them a beanbag. If they're struggling to catch a beanbag, maybe you can tie a bib into a knot and throw it. And it just makes things easier for children. So thinking about your progressions and your regressions, but this is so good because it's constantly thinking about, if I'm working here, I'm thinking about moving into space, which is great. I'm also thinking about the passes, and I'm also thinking about catching as well. Okay, so and I'm working on defending. So there's so many different bits that Piggy in the Middle relates to real games, and it's like once you've done your warm up, you can go into a little bit of Piggy in the Middle to work on, you know, whatever movement or whatever skill you're working on. Really, quite often feeds nicely into a match. Again, you can do this with hockey, basketball, football, netball. There's so many different sports that this all works well with. So, and again, like I said earlier, small groups all the time, 3 versus 3s. Sorry, in small groups of 3s, you're going to have this 2 versus 1. They're constantly be making decisions. They can't hide. It's not a Piggy in the Middle where it's 5 versus 5 and you've got to try and catch the ball as many times as possible, sort of thing. So, you know, again, every child active in your group. And again, I'm not going to give them like a certain area for this because I think the children need that freedom of space, and naturally they will just disperse around the area anyway. So that across a whole netball court, 30 children easily will have enough space to have 10 groups. So yeah, really important you think about that. Hopefully that's given you some good ideas on 5 different things that you can bring into your PE lessons. And I use these as like my go-to lesson. I can put them into so many different types of sessions, change what the focus is. If I'm working on passing, Piggy in the Middle works. If I'm working on defending, Piggy in the Middle works. There's so many times when you can use these sports or these games to help you in so many different sports. So hopefully it'll help you. If this video has been helpful for you and you think you might go away and try it, please drop me a like and put a subscription in as well. And we'll see you in the next video. Thank you very much.